Keir Starmer is facing growing unrest inside his own government once again. Reports suggest that senior Labour ministers are preparing to challenge Rachel Reeves over her tax plans in the autumn budget, warning the Chancellor may have crossed a line. The Labour government is said to be deeply divided over Reeves's economic strategy, with ministers worried her policies could harm growth and further drive wealth out of the UK. Since the last autumn budget, reports of millionaires leaving Britain have raised concern at the top of government. Some ministers now fear that another round of tax rises could make things worse. According to The Independent, even members of Labour's own cabinet believe that Reeves has gone too far, citing what they call anti-aspiration measures. That includes the abolition of the non-dom tax status and VAT on private school fees, both seen as symbolic policies that risk sending the wrong message to investors. One minister told the paper, "We've crossed a line in trying to encourage aspiration. It's doing a lot of harm to the country." Another added, "Why do we want people with money to move out of the country? It's really bad for London." Reeves is reportedly also considering further measures, including a property tax on high-value homes and a new profits levy on banks, to help fill what could be a £50 million budget gap. Her supporters argue that these are necessary steps to stabilise the economy. Her critics, however, say they risk deterring investment and squeezing growth at a crucial time. The Chancellor insists she's sticking to her principles. In a recent video, Reeves said the economy isn't working well enough for working people, adding that she would keep a tight grip on day-to-day spending and follow her non-negotiable fiscal rules. In her party conference speech, she warned of hard choices to come as the UK prepares to tackle what she called global headwinds.
In the months ahead, we will face further tests, with the choices to come made all the harder by harsh global headwinds and the long-term damage done to our country, which is becoming ever clearer. Our first year in power was about fixing the foundations. Our second must be about building a renewed economy for a renewed Britain. A renewed economy that works for working people and rewards their contribution. A renewed economy where we reject austerity and support our public services. A renewed economy that supports investment, that gets inflation and borrowing down, and where we build growth in every part of Britain. I will make my choices at that budget. They will be choices to take our country forward. And whatever tests come our way, whatever tests come my way, I make this commitment to you. I will take no risks with the trust placed in us by the British people.
We're living in a time of what feels like pretty significant social change, and it makes us question things that we've even taken for granted for decades. And one of those at the moment that people are wondering about is actually money. Is the money in your bank account safe? Should you be investing elsewhere? Are we looking at a potential global crash? What will it mean for your savings? Is there a way that you could be using your money that might be outside of government control even? Well, Tally Money is potentially one solution. So I'm delighted to say that I'm joined today by the CEO and founder of Tally Money, Cameron Parry. What is Tally Money?
Well, at Tally Money, you basically get gold you can spend. So we give people an individual account in their name, everyday account. They get a sort code, an account number. They use that account just like they would pounds from their bank, but it's milligrams of gold that we brand as Tally.
Okay. Why would you do that, though? What is the benefit to the customer instead of just having a normal pound sterling account?
Gold's performance against the pound is above 11% per annum over the last 25 years on average. But we still need money in our daily lives, and we have savings. We know that it's good common sense and prudent to save up for things, not just live in credit. You know, whether it's a holiday or a rainy day, your retirement planning, you need to have money in your life, basically, that you can rely on, that's dependable, that nobody meddles with, that nobody can weaponise against you, which is another element of government control when it's the government currency, which we could talk about another time. And it should be pretty simple and straightforward, and that's what we deliver at Tally. And really, we just want people to feel safe and happy with their money. There was a time when the bigger your bank balance, the more confident you felt. Now it's like, I need to do something with it. I can't leave it there. In Tally, you can.
Okay, brilliant. Cameron Parry from Tally Money, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bev.
Ex-OBR official and one of Britain's most respected economists, Charlie Bean, delivered a damning verdict on Reeves's plans, claiming the Chancellor has no credible plan to get the country's debt down. Others, including Liam Halligan, have also warned that unless the Chancellor sticks to her claims of curbing the government's spending, the country risks heading towards a bailout from the International Monetary Fund.
It gives me no pleasure to say that we're deeply in trouble. And also, I think, to be fair and even-handed, it's worth saying that Labour had a really bad economic inheritance from the Tories. National debt was already approaching 100% of GDP when the Tories left office. Debt service costs were already very high. The tax burden, tax as a share of GDP, was already a 70-year high. But Rachel Reeves and Labour have made it much, much worse because they've jacked up borrowing, they've jacked up spending, not least in that October Halloween budget last year. They jacked up borrowing and spending again in April, and they're going to do the same this coming October, November, the next budget. And guess what? Financial markets, they don't care what the Bank of England's saying about interest rates. They're just mood music, what the Bank of England's doing, because the financial markets, the big insurance companies, the investment houses, the sovereign wealth funds that actually determine borrowing costs in the economy, they're saying we don't believe the Bank of England that inflation's under control. We don't believe the government that they're going to get spending under control. All we see is a bunch of mad left-wingers on the government's backbenches pushing Downing Street around, as we saw with those botched welfare reforms earlier this summer. That's why, Nigel, the 30-year gilt yield, it sounds like arcane. Basically, the long-term cost of government borrowing, it's the basis for every borrowing cost in the economy, whether it's your hire purchase agreement on your car or in the long term your mortgage. Certainly, it determines what the government pays, is now at its highest in over a quarter of a century. Yes, Blair came in on a big majority with a high gilt yield, but he had government debt of just 36% of GDP. When you're paying a massive gilt yield on 100% of GDP, your debt service costs go through the roof. That's why, Nigel, we're now paying more on debt interest. The government's paying more on debt interest than we spend on schools. Twice what we spend on education. We talk about a 50 billion black hole. We may have to all pay 50 billion quid's worth more of taxes this October. Guess what? That's just half our debt service bill. Just half.
This kind of speculation only adds to the growing tensions inside the party. Some on the left believe that Starmer's recent reshuffle handed more power to Labour's right wing, whilst others argue the government must be more disciplined if it wants to keep borrowing and inflation under control. It's a familiar divide, one side calling for more investment, the other warning Britain must live within its means. Rachel Reeves will deliver her second budget on November the 26th, after raising around £40 billion in her first, mainly through higher national insurance contributions. Following recent backlash on his digital ID announcement, the stakes couldn't be higher for Keir Starmer. This budget will test not just his Chancellor's judgment, but his control over a cabinet already showing signs of strain.